and today is the 14th day of May 2021. We're going to be continuing on reading Chapter 14 of the Holy Priesthood, Volume 4, pages 174 through 188. The Americans, Land of Religious Freedom. So the text for this radio show, for what we're reading today, is at ogdencrud.com. Also, you can find it. Hold on, Kim, you're going to need to put a headset on.
Okay.
Or just turn your phone down and talk into it, I guess. You can hear me, so.
Yeah,
okay. I'm actually at home tonight. So, all right. I posted this at facebook.com/LAZURUS1977, and also on my Facebook page, Zion's Redemption Radio. I think it's Zion's Redemption Radio or Zion's Redemption Radio Network. I can't remember right now. Anyway, so this is what we're going to be reading tonight, and we should be able to cover the whole chapter in the time that we have. So, Kim will be on as well. Where's your headset? Okay. Do you know where my headset is? My other headset? You could use that one. You don't like that one? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll start the reading tonight, and I'll dedicate the program. So, also, the guest call-in number is 917-889-8827. That's 917-889-8827. And there is a chat room available at blogtalkradio.com/fundamentally Mormon. And people can go there with their questions or comments, or you can listen. We have 50 lines available for people to listen. But if you do want me to unmute your mic, just push 1, and I'll see that, and I'll unmute you. All right, let's get into the reading. Actually, I'll dedicate the program. O Yehovah, our Elohim, we come to thee in the name of thy Son, Yeshua, our Messiah. We ask thee, Father, to forgive us of our sins and our transgressions, that we may collectively have thy Spirit to be with us, that we may be able to discern truth from error, and that we may be able to learn the history of America and polygamy. We love thee, Father, and we thank thee for all of thy many blessings. We thank thee for this great technology that we have to be able to go out to the world to sprinkle the message of the restoration to the inhabitants of the earth, wherever they may be. We thank thee, Father, for the atonement of our Savior, Yeshua, even Jesus Christ. We love thee, and we love him, and we love thy gospel plan. We say these things in the name of Yeshua, our Messiah. Amen. The Americans, Land of Religious Freedom, Chapter 14 of Holy Priesthood, Volume 4, pages 174 through 188. Both governments and religions were growing like mushrooms, and some lasted about as long. Religions wanted control over governments, and governments tried to get control over religions. Unfortunately, God usually had little to do with either. Their laws and the laws of God were frequently in conflict. A few souls attempted to get out from under such secular and ecclesiastical bondage and sought for a new land and new freedom. They called the new country America, a place where good men and women could accept God's laws as their laws. It seemed to be his desire also, for later he said, "Verily, I say unto you, my law shall be kept on this land." Doctrine and Covenants, section 58, verse 19. Men who loved freedom and good government were selected to write those laws into a constitution, as God explained, quote, "And for this purpose have I established the constitution of this land. By the hand of wise men whom I raised up unto this very purpose. Doctrine and Covenants, section 101, verse 80. Government organizations usually reflect the personality of its people. The citizens of the nation seldom get a better or worse government than they deserve. The political architects of this country knew what they were doing. As the Mayflower Pilgrims had written that I'm going to let Kim read this because she is actually a direct descendant of the brother of the captain of the Mayflower. But we're on page 175 for those of you who are reading along. Kim, do you see where I'm quoting from? Oh, she's getting on it still.
I forgot that I had to unmute my mic first, and now I can go in. Oh, okay. Now you don't hear me echoing, right? Okay. All right. Great hope and inward zeal is for the propagating and advancing the gospel of the kingdom of Christ. In these remote parts of the world, that's from Christian History of the Constitution, Verna Hall, page 8. I had to count all the I's. The primary reason most people started coming to America was because they finally heard of a nation that had religious liberty. That term was best described by Henry Campbell Black, who wrote the famous Black's Law Dictionary, which, after more than a century, is still being used. He defined religious liberty as freedom from dictation, constraint, or control in matters of affecting the conscience, religious beliefs, and the practice of religion, freedom to entertain and express any or no system of religious opinions, and to engage in or refrain from any form of religious observance. That's from page 723.
You want to mute your phone?
No?
Because it's got a noise canceling mic on it.
Can you hear me twice?
I can hear me when I talk.
Well,
actually, you know what? Hold on. We'll just use your mic on your headset because I can hear me fine.
Okay, I was going to move to the other end of the...
It doesn't matter. I can still hear you. I heard you when you were in the hallway on my mic, so...
Okay, as long as you can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear me fine.
Okay. Now yours is muted? Yeah.
Yep.
The customs, traditions, and personal beliefs regarding marriage are an important part of one's religion, and the U.S. Constitution offered its citizens those rights, leaving the conscience of a man untrammeled as long as he injured no one. He was free to marry one wife, several wives, or no wife at all. But this idea was short-lived, even in America. Men who entered into public office were soon tempted with power, position, and wealth, and America began to be more and more like other nations. Laws, privileges, and rights were changed and became more restrictive. The Constitution said one thing, and the politicians something else. And for that matter, they still do. True story. Did you have anything to say?
Page 176.
Yeah, did you have anything to say?
No.
Okay. Conflicts arose between religion and civil government because government was in violation of the establishment of religion. The Establishment of Religion Clause, fostering excessive entanglement between government and religion. Justice Blacks once delivered a decision, Everson versus Board of Education, in which he clearly explained, this is from Constitutional Law, Freund, Sutherland, Howe, Brown, page 1351, or 1351. Quote, the Establishment of Religion Clause of the First Amendment means at least this. Neither a state nor federal government can set up a church, neither can pass laws which aid one religion, aid all religions, or prefer one religion over another. Neither can force nor influence a person to go to or remain away from church against his will, or force him to profess a belief or disbelief in any religion. No person can be punished for entertaining or professing religious beliefs or disbeliefs, for church attendance or non-attendance. In the words of Jefferson, the clause against establishment of religion by law was intended to erect a wall of separation between church and state. End quote. That is from Constitutional Law, Freund, Sutherland, Howe, Brown, page 1351. Justice Black referred to other major decisions relating to the protection of a religion and its members. The First Amendment has erected a wall between church and state. That wall must be kept high and impregnable. We could not approve the slightest breach. That amendment requires the state to be a neutral in its relations with groups of religious believers and non-believers. It does not require the state to be their adversary. State power is no more to be used so as to handicap religions that it is to favor them. Neither so high nor so impregnable today as yesterday is the wall raised between church and state by Virginia's great statute of religious freedom and the First Amendment, now made applicable to all states by the 14th. Page 100. Well, it just says ...
I think it's 14th Amendment.
Okay, 14th Amendment. Page 177. Did Lydia text you?
No idea. No, she didn't.
She wants your sushi roll.
How dare she?
I know, right?
That's my snack.
You might want to let her know before she lets Eliza eat it.
I'll beat her.
Beat her to the roll?
I'll beat her with the roll.
No, like...
I'll dry it out until it's hard, and I'll put it in a sock, and she'll get a sock.
You would not waste good sushi.
I know.
So anyways, but you should text her and say, yeah, that's not going to happen. Because I told her she could have the lo mein. That's what we got for her.
The roll.
Okay, since we're having a side note already, Lydia got first place in shot put today, and I'm so excited for her. My little girl did a really good job at throwing an 8-pound ball 23 feet and 2 inches.
2 inches. And I told her that her demons assisted her because 23
divided by 3 is .666, and that is an evil number. But she got first place. Nobody even got close to her because she has the power of possession.
So I was really proud of her. Also, Emmett got 6th in state overall. What?
Our 15-year-old.
Yeah, in FFA food science. He did a good job, and he got a gold medal or gold star rating or something. He got, I don't know what all these things are because I didn't have these as a kid. But as a mom, I don't care what it is that they want to do or participate in. I just want them to do a good job at whatever they choose to do. So I'm excited for them, even though I have no idea how they do what they do.
Okay, I'm going to squeeze your hand when I want to talk so we're not talking over each other.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Squeezing your hand,
Mm-hmm.
you can just be quiet and talk.
What if I squeeze you, then I can talk over you?
No, you have to wait till I'm done talking. And I'll wait till you're done talking. I'll just keep on squeezing. Okay. Emmett may have gotten a gold medal. Medal. What the heck?
Sure.
Anyway, but he still doesn't know how to make the proper omelet.
It is animal food. Well, for you, I guess, animal food.
That's egg. Egg is animal.
Oh, my
Egg is
goodness.
potential animal, and it comes from an animal. Aminal.
He is a great cook, but I don't think when it's the science part, I think it is different.
Well, he's made a good omelet for me in the past, but he wants to experiment all the time, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, he likes to
Tell
make
him about-
sauces and roux.
Tell him about when we were in Colorado.
And we didn't have money for a tip, but we had a card, and we couldn't get money off the card, so that we bought that waitress a lotto ticket.
Do you remember the drink that he made? The chocolate soda drink?
You know, where he put everything in it? He's always liked sauces.
He's like, this is great.
He was like 6.
He was 6.
Yeah, and he was like, this is amazing. And we were both like, ew, that is so gross. But, 6-year-olds think everything tastes amazing that tastes like chocolate. So there's that.
Chocolate.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyways, let me get back to reading. Page 177 we're at. There is not a shadow of right in the general government to intermeddle with religion, and that this subject is for the honor of America, perfectly free and unshackled. The government has no jurisdiction over it. Madison opposed every form and degree of official relation between religion and civil authority. For him, religion was a wholly private matter beyond the scope of civil power, either to restrain or to support. Denial or abridgment of religious freedom was a violation of rights both of conscience and of natural equality. In recent years, the doctrine of Watson v. Jones has been given constitutional status, so that it now seems that the states and nation are compelled to respect not merely the religious liberty of natural persons, but to secure the liberty of churches, domestic and foreign, to govern themselves without interference by American secular authority, whether legislative or judicial. See Kedroff v. St. Nicholas Cathedral, 344 U.S. 94, from 1952. But our concern is not with the wisdom of legislation, but with its constitutional limitation. If the purpose or effect of a law is to impede the observance of one or all religious, or is to discriminate invidiously between religions, that law is constitutionally invalid, even though the burden may be characterized as being only indirect. Braunfeld v. Brown, 366 U.S., at 607. I'm not exactly sure how that reference works, but that's what it says. The test may be stated as follows. What are the purpose and primary effect of the enactment? If there is an advancement or inhibition of religion, then the enactment exceeds the scope of legislative power as circumscribed by the Constitution. That is to say that to withstand the strictures of the Establishment Clause, there must be a secular legislative purpose and a primary effect that neither advocates nor it neither advances or inhibits religion. Everson v. Board of Education, Supra, McGowan v. Maryland, I think this is Statute 365 U.S. 420, 442, 1961. The Free Exercise Clause, likewise, considered many times here, withdrawals from legislative power, state and federal, the exertion of any restraint on the free exercise of religion. Its purpose is to secure religious liberty in the individual by prohibiting any invasions thereof by civil authority.
So I just squeezed your hand because I love you.
So when I want to talk, I'll just squeeze like this. But I love you. So I was just squeezing your hand because
I love you is like squeeze, 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 because that's okay, I love you.
Know, but, okay, I love you, but if I keep doing this, I'm gonna like squeeze, 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 all bunch of squeezing until you don't.
Until I stop talking?
Yeah. Okay,
so there's like a precursor of like, okay, it's coming. I'm going to squeeze your hand. It's going to happen eventually.
If I do 3, that's I love you.
I can't do 2 things at once. I can't read that fast and think.
If I just squeeze your hand, that's just me
squeezing your hand. But if I'm like squeezing over and over and over and over, that means I want to talk.
Okay, you should talk right now for a while. Let me get a drink. 1 second.
Oh, I have nothing to say. Oh, well, I do have lots of things to say, actually.
Like, none of this is even applicable anymore because of COVID, I guess, because they don't even care about the Constitution or precedents or anything else. They feel like,
well, it's just like Joe Biden's State of the Union speech or State of the Nation or whatever they call it. Like, he was like, we the people are the government.
And they're all like, we're going to tell you what to do, and you're going to listen to us. And it's like, dude, you are so far away from reality. Like, how is it this man can even govern us? But you know what? They play fast and listen to the Constitution, and they have been playing fast and listen to the Constitution anyway. So, all along. Anyway, I can't tell if you hear me or not because I have my phone turned all the way down.
Oh, I don't know either.
Audio? Oh, I can hear me.
I was like, I can hear you really good.
I had my phone turned all the way down, and I was like, because I don't want there to be any chance of an echo.
the roll, young lady.
Hmm?
You can have I got you the noodles. You love noodles? Stay away from my roll. Okay. I can still hear you whispering. Go away.
No.
You're in our studio. Good day, sir. We're on a live radio program.
Okay, I'll keep reading.
People all over the world listen to this program.
And they can hear that you are not listening to
Go
your daddy.
away.
Go on.
Okay.
No.
Lydia.
Right here.
Okay.
Get out. Take the noodles with you.
These aren't noodles. This is mine.
Oh, where's your noodles?
Okay.
Did you eat them already?
No. I haven't eaten.
I can't even believe you.
Okay, close the door, please.
Hey, I love your guts. Further,
She's only 12 and she acts like she's 14.
she probably acts more like she's 16.
Brat. Entitled.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Further, it is no defense to urge that religious practices here may be relatively minor encroachments on the First Amendment. The breach of neutrality is today a trickling stream, may all too soon become a raging torrent, and, in the words of Madison, it is proper to take alarm at the first experiment in our liberties, memorial and remonstrance against religious assessments quoted in Everson's Supra at 65. I think I start back really quick. I think that I start back really quickly. In case nobody in the listening audience noticed already or noticed, I have ADD, and I go really fast from one thing to the next. Sometimes I don't think I have the right segues. Do you know what I mean?
So you should have heard this woman when we first got married. So if it wasn't for God telling her to marry me and the fact that she trusts God and nobody else, she would never have married me or anyone else. She was still suffering from complex post-traumatic stress disorder.
It is a thing.
Even though she had been away from the guy that she was with that went to prison.
He was not nice.
Yeah, he's bad devil man. Anyway, but she still had PTSD, and she used to talk 1,000 miles a second, if that even makes sense.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
I was.
It's so fast, but she calmed down, and she doesn't say wicked as much anymore.
That's a New England thing.
Yeah, and we got married. I had to move to New Hampshire because that's where she lives, and she was a teacher there.
Yep.
So we got married in the summertime, so she wasn't teaching in the summer. But anyway, and I was a stay-at-home dad for a while until she got pregnant somehow.
Man of my dreams.
And then I went to work. I went back to work. But anyway, she used to talk 1,000 miles an hour, or whatever, and she was always wicked this and wicked that, and all the other New England things.
Wah. That's a New England thing. Well, that's like northern New England, like near Canada.
Canada. We lived 50 miles from the Canadian. It was 50 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 50 miles from the Canadian border in upstate New Hampshire, which is kind of funny because all of New Hampshire is upstate.
I know, right? The whole state is upstate.
The whole state is upstate. Right on the Vermont border.
Anyways, that was a really good tangent because that's how I am. But that was just what I was trying to say. I hope that people can follow along with my segments in the way that I am. My husband follows along really well, and he is very used to me now after 9 years. I don't mean to be that way. But if you have any questions or comments, or even if you just want to say stop or slow down, just let me know. I can slow it down.
Oh, because the chat room.
Oh, the chat room's not open? I can slow down. It can happen. It just takes a little bit more effort on my part. Anyway, so.
Okay, the chat room is now opening.
Okay.
I forgot. I said it was going to be open, and
you
then
did.
I forgot.
That's why I thought it was.
I'm such a liar.
I know. What a liar.
All right, it's open now, then.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Next. Okay, I'm going to continue on with the reading. That was a good segue, right? Okay. The antecedents. Okay, sure. Antecedents of today's decision are many and unmistakable. They are rooted in the foundation soil of our nation. They are fundamental to freedom. Government in our democracy, state and national, must be neutral in matters of religious theory, doctrine, and practice. It may not be hostile to any religion or to the advocacy of no religion, and it may not aid, foster, or promote one religion or religious theory against another, or even against the militant opposite. The First Amendment mandates governmental neutrality between religion and between religion and non-religion. The place of religion in our society is an exalted one, achieved through a long tradition of reliance on the home. The church, an inviolable, is that right? Inviolable?
I'm trying to figure out.
Citadel of the individual heart and mind. We have come to recognize through bitter experience that it is not within the power of government to invade that citadel, whether it is purpose or effect be to aid or oppose, to advance or retard. In the relationship between man and religion, the state is firmly committed to a position of neutrality. Though the application of that rule requires interpretation of a delicate sort, the rule itself is clearly and consciously stated and concisely stated in the words of the First Amendment. My phone just reset, so that was fun.
Do you know what page we're on?
Exactly where I left off is where we were on.
I was doing the chat room when you were reading, so I wasn't following along like I was before.
You weren't.
So now I'm completely lost. I'm even more lost than she is, which is usually the case.
Okay, let me see.
Did you read Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith yet?
I did not.
Oh, I'm too far then.
But I'm almost here. I am. This is where I am. See, I'm right here. Okay. We have come to recognize through bitter experience that it is not within the power of government to invade that citadel, whether it is its purpose or effect be to aid or oppose the advance or retard. In the relationship between man and religion, the state is firmly committed to a position of neutrality, though the application of that rule requires interpretation of a delicate sort. The rule itself is clearly and concisely stated in the words of the First Amendment. That is, I bid see pages 1,351 to 1,354. An outstanding feature of the Constitution that it limited the power of federal government rather than of its citizens. The Constitution was to serve as a leash upon its politicians. But unfortunately, there were still enough loopholes for the political rats to crawl through and destroy the American dream. Now we're on page 179. Did you have anything that you needed to add? Okay, keep following along.
Well, scum.
Well, that is an ad right there. You added.
They're scum.
You said, no, I didn't have to add, then you added.
Babylonian scum.
Okay. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That such freedom means also freedom to make disastrous experiments, only drives home again that no country can ever be a government of laws and not of men, but only a government partly of laws around which ill-chosen men will build ill practices or well-chosen men build wise ones. That's from National Encyclopedia, Volume 4, page 240.
Volume 3.
Oh, sorry, Volume 3, page 240. Did I say 4?
Yeah, you said 4.
Probably was reading ahead with that 4, 240.
I do that sometimes.
I do that too, a lot of times. So I read in like sentences ahead of time. Okay, so under this protective umbrella of the Constitution, supposedly assuring separation of church and state, the gospel of Jesus Christ was restored to Joseph Smith. The Mormons, more than any other people, had reason to support, defend, and promote the Constitution. It offered them the greatest protection for religious beliefs and practices. The prophet Joseph loved this heavenly banner. And this comes from the Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, page 147. Quote,
we're down there, CBD Gonzalez.
Let me slow down. Okay.
If we could just like mix my slow speech with your fast speech.
We even each other out.
We could.
Hence, we say that the Constitution of the United States is a glorious standard. It is founded in the wisdom of God. It is a heavenly banner. It is to all those who are privileged with the sweets of liberty. like the cooling shades and refreshing waters of a great rock in a thirsty and weary land. It is like a great tree under whose branches men from every clime can be shielded from the burning rays of the sun. Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, page 147. As broad as the Constitution was, and as much as the greatest minds of the nation put into it, Joseph Smith noticed a weakness, which over the passage of time has proved to be very prophetic. It is one of the first principles of my life, and one that I have cultivated from my childhood, having been taught it by my father to allow everyone the liberty of conscience. I was like, conscience. I can't even say that. Yeah, conscience. This is what happens when I read slow. I'm like, wait, what does that say? You're not reading
slow.
I feel like I am.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
We're 39% through the chapter.
Yay, we're doing a great job. I am the greatest advocate of the Constitution of the United States there is on the earth. In my feelings, I am always ready to die for the protection of the weak and oppressed in their just rights. The only fault I find with the Constitution is it is not broad enough to cover the whole ground. Although it provides that all men shall enjoy religious freedom, yet it does not provide that the manner by which that freedom can be preserved, nor for the punishment of government officers who refuse to protect the people and their religious rights, or punish those mobs, states, or communities who interfere with the rights of the people on account of their religion. Its sentiments are good, but it provides no means of enforcing them. It has but this one fault. Under its provision, a man or a people who are able to protect themselves can get along well enough, but those who have the misfortune to be weak or unpopular are left to the merciless rage of popular fury. That's Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, pages 326 through 327. In 1788, when several state conventions were ratifying the U.S. Constitution, they decided to more clearly identify the rights offered to its citizens, resulting in what is now referred to as the Bill of Rights. The very first of these 10 amendments states, Article 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assembly, and to petition the government for redress grievances. Did you like what I did there? Redress? It's redress.
I know.
Okay. Based on the strength of the Constitution and Bill of Rights, Joseph Smith and his followers incorporated an article in their belief structure that stated, we believe in obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. That's also Article of Faith number 12. The question has been asked many times since then, what law?
They don't believe in following every single governmental law that's talking about the Constitution of the United States, not Hitler's Nazi Germany. So people misinterpret that crap all the time, and the Nazi Germans back in the 30s used it to subjugate the church in Germany to cause them to do things that they shouldn't have done. If it goes against your conscience, you don't follow it. Anyway, go ahead.
Sure. The Lord himself answered, and that law of the land, which is constitutional, supporting that principle of freedom and maintaining rights and privileges, belongs to all mankind and is justifiable before me. Therefore, I, the Lord, justify you and your brethren of my church in befriending that law, which is the constitutional law of the land, and is pertaining to the law of man. Whatsoever is more or less than this cometh of evil. I, the Lord God, make you free. Therefore ye are free indeed, and the law also maketh you free. That's from D&C, chapter 98, verses 5 through 8. In another article of faith, it was worded even more emphatically. We claim, not merely believe, the privilege of worshiping Almighty God according to the dictates of our own conscience, and allow all men the same privilege. Let them worship how, where, or what they may. That's Article of Faith number 11.
Unless they're fundamentalist.
Exactly. This was the same principle the Constitution advocated. So, whatsoever is more or less than this cometh of evil. The Supreme Court was instituted to enforce these individual constitutional rights and should be supported by federal, state, and local law officials. One of their rulings explained this: certain aspects of religious exercise cannot in any way be restricted or burdened by either federal or state legislation. Compulsion by law of the acceptance of any creed or the practice of any form of worship is strictly forbidden. The freedom to hold religious beliefs and opinions is absolute. That's from Cantwell v. Connecticut, 310, that's probably a U.S. statute, 310-296-303. Because that's the way that they write statutes. It's confusing. Other legal sources also emphasize the fact that governments cannot control or force a change in anyone's religion. The constitutional limitations have a, quote, American Law and Procedure, LaSalle Extension University, Volume 12, 90D.
Whenever I see a colon, I know it's the beginning of a quote.
42. Hey, how do you know that what percentage we are?
Because I have a program on my iPhone.
No way.
It's my reader program, but it doesn't go on your Android.
Of course not.
It's only for iPhone.
Ooh.
Because we're special.
Yeah, you're very special. Continuing.
You're a teacher. You don't need to be special.
I am special.
No, you teach special.
Also, I'm the best teacher ever.
Well,
I have a plaque that says it. I know. My student got it for me for for Teacher Appreciation Week. It's on my desk. One of my students got me a little plaque that, or it's not a plaque. What is it? It's like a
crayon
name
card?
tag. No, it's like a name tag, but it's ceramic, and it says "Best Teacher Ever."
So when that student gives it to another teacher, do you get demoted?
They can't give it to another teacher. It was mine for Teacher Appreciation. It will now go with me forever.
Next year, they'll give it to the next teacher.
They better not. They can. I won't be in the same building. I won't ever know. Also, I got a plant, which I think Lydia has in her room. Why does she have my plant?
Because she's a thief.
Oh.
12-year-old little.
We have to go check to see if it has.
Stealing all of that.
I need to make sure it's not dehydrated. The constitutional limitations have a dual aspect. They prevent the legal compulsion to accept any creed or the practice of any form of worship on one hand, and on the other hand, permit the free exercise of a chosen form of religion. The freedom of religion protected against federal legislation by the First Amendment of the Federal Constitution is also protected against invasion by the state action by reason of the 14th Amendment Due Process Clause. 6. What is freedom of religion? It embraces the right to maintain theories of life, of death, and of the hereafter, which are rank heresy to followers of the Orthodox faith. 7. It allows everyone under the jurisdiction of the United States to entertain such notions respecting his relations to his Maker, and the duties they impose as may be approved by his judgment and conscience, and to exhibit his sentiments in such form of worship as he may think proper, not injurious to the equal rights of others. End quote. That, again, is from American Law and Procedure, LaSalle Extension University, Volume 12, page 90D. In other words, the government cannot tell a person what to believe or what religious beliefs to practice. What good is a religion if you are permitted to just believe in it? Is there any value in believing in the Ten Commandments without practicing them?
Well, they can't tell you what to believe, but they can prohibit you from doing something immoral. Religion, even though the does child sacrifice in their abortion clinics. But my body, my choice. Except when you don't want vaccines in your blood. Anyway, go ahead, Kim.
George Washington understood the important role of religion and morality within a nation.
Kim's being a lot faster tonight because I am with her in our studio. I'm extra happy because I don't usually stay home at night. I usually go drive, but I stayed home for the radio show tonight.
You can tell that.
Yeah, because you usually don't talk 1,000 miles per millisecond.
So what you're saying is if I don't slow down, you're not going to stay?
Well, you should be talking slower so I stay longer. I still have to go to work tonight. I still have 12 hours tonight to
Well,
do.
maybe I'm trying to hurry to let you go to work then.
You don't want me? You know what? I'm the night shift guy. She doesn't have to share a bed with me.
I get my own bed.
She's so entitled.
It's my room.
Only for your shift.
No, I get my little monkey. He comes in with me.
Monkey?
Monkey.
Oh, monkey, yeah. Our 1-year-old. He's so silly.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I'll shut up now.
That's what you interrupted me for.
I love you.
I was on a roll.
Okay.
Okay. Of all the dispensations or dispositions, because that's what it actually says, dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion, and morality, indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness. That comes from Stand Fast by Our Constitution, J. Reuben Clark, page 27. Page 183. But great speeches and noble thoughts of American patriots were soon in conflict with new and improved state and federal laws, especially those concerning religious freedom. Men in government proved traitors to their oath of office. The Prophet Joseph noticed this and advised the saints, quote, this comes from Doctrinal History of the Church, Volume 5, page 289. The different states and even Congress itself have passed many laws diametrically contrary to the Constitution of the United States. Shall we be such fools as to be governed by its laws, which are unconstitutional? No. End quote. The Latter-day Saints were among the first American citizens to learn from experience of such two-faced hypocrisy. They became more and more unpopular. Their freedoms could not be preserved. Unjust government officers were not punished, nor were mobs in states who deprived the Mormons of their constitutional rights. The corrupt government was more merciless than the vicious mobs. The saints had no appeal within the government since officials on all levels were equally guilty. Government should exist to protect its citizens, showing no discrimination because of race, politics, or religion. As a public servant, it should offer service without special favors for certain people. In other words, a policeman protects a Catholic, not because he's a Catholic, but because he is a citizen. A fireman protects a church, not because it's Protestant, but because it's part of society. Public servants are in office to protect Catholics, Jews, Protestants, and Mormons without asking them. But not Jehovah's Witnesses. Just kidding. It wasn't listed.
Scientologists.
I'm just kidding. That was not listed, so that was my point. Are you identified with a popular religion, or are you incorporated with the government? A state may not adopt programs or practices with aid or oppose any religion. That's from Abington School District, 374 U.S. at 225. Also, a state has no legitimate interest in protecting any or all religious from views distasteful to them. That's Justice Clark and Burstein versus Wilson, 343 U.S., 1952. Was that like an elbow to the side for a purpose or by accident?
No.
Okay, then I'll continue reading. When a government turns
elbow to the side. My elbow hits your elbow. Stop trying to act like...
He's trying to find something in his pocket, and he elbowed my elbow that I was reading from, and then I was like, was that because you needed to say something?
No, we already talked about the squeezing of the hands.
I know, but you're not holding my hand because I'm holding my phone.
Okay.
Okay. When a government turns from protecting religions to invading or persecuting them, it has turned from being a public servant to a public menace. When a government tries to dictate and control the beliefs and practices of a religion, it has assumed the power of a god. But such powers, decisions, and rights are not intended to be invested with Caesar. They are still and always will be invested with God the Father, who has his own plan to be carried out among the righteous saints, as Erastus Snow stated from Erastus Snow Journal Discourses 24, that's volume 24, page 164 through 165. Quote, Now, when the Lord raised up the prophet Joseph to lay the foundation of his church, he found monogamy instead of polygamy to be the rule of Christendom. He enjoined in the early revelations to this church that every woman cleave unto her husband, and that every man cleave unto his wife and none else, saying that he looketh upon a woman to lust after her who is not his wife, hath committed adultery already in his heart. This was the law governing Christendom, which had been inherited by the Gentiles for ages past, and introduced among the Roman Empire and perpetuated by the Roman Church and the Protestant churches that had sprung out of her. And the Lord, in the early history of his people, continued this order of things, but revealed unto the prophet Joseph, nevertheless, that the time would come when he would require his people to enter into plural marriage, as he did Abraham and the prophets of old, to bring about his purposes in the latter days. Joseph revealed this unto some of the first elders of the church, taking care to enjoin them that they must preserve these things in their own hearts, that the time had not yet come when the Lord required his people to enter into this order, but the time would come when he would require them to do so. This was made manifest in the early stages of this church, but not until 1843 was this law committed to writing and given to the people. This revelation we find in the Book of Doctrine and Covenants. Quote, that's Erastus Snow Journal of Discourse, Volume 24, page 164 through 65. And we're on page 185 in case you're looking. Yeah. So, here in America, too, there began to be a distinct difference between the marriage of laws of God and those of man. Legally, the rights and types of marriage should be a matter of personal preference, religious, civil, or by private contract. However, shortly after the Constitution was ratified, some states began to establish marriage laws limiting these individual rights. Among those states were 5 in which Joseph Smith lived: Vermont, New York, Ohio, Missouri, and Illinois. Hey, those are like my home states.
And we don't like Vermont, those communists.
They're an upside down.
They're upside down New Hampshire.
They're upside down New Hampshire.
New Hampshire is live free or die. Communist state. I mean, Vermont is what? Listen to the government or die?
I don't know. I think they're more crunchy.
They're a liberal communist state.
They're very crunchy.
Yeah. Anyway.
The laws restricting polygamy in each of these states are briefly presented here. Vermont passed the following law, 1797, which was a civil law against any person who wanted to live plural marriage. See? Look at this state. Section 23.
Communist. It doesn't surprise me that they're the ones that started it. Those commies.
Section 23, and it is hereby further enacted that if any person or persons in the state being married or who shall hereafter marry shall at any time marry any other person, the former husband or wife being alive, or shall continue to live together so married, every such offender being thereof convicted before the Supreme Court of Judicare shall be punished. What?
Judicature.
That's what it says, judicature.
Judicature.
Shall be punished as in case of adultery, and every person so offending may be tried in the county in which he or she shall be apprehended. That's Statutes of Vermont R 1797, page 165.
That's why you just say, "This is my sister. She's visiting forever."
That's what I do say. I have 5 sisters.
My sister's my sister wife. I mean sister girlfriend. Whatever.
Sister girlfriend.
Well, Ogden Kraut said, "I don't have wives. I have girlfriends."
Oh yeah.
He was just sealed to them.
Continuing on, this law was in force at the time Joseph Smith was born, December 23rd, 1805, in Sharon, Windsor County, Vermont. It seemed that the devil knew that Joseph would do and was setting up his barriers among the laws of men. The influence and traditions of the Holy Roman Empire were already making their appearance in America, and I've been inside that house.
I just want to say, we both have.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because it was like 50 miles from where we live. Or something.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, everywhere in New Hampshire is 50 miles away.
Yeah.
In Vermont.
Also, I just want to say we're on page 186.
Okay, I just got to say this. Joseph Smith was born December 23rd, 1805, during the darkest time of the year in the darkest communist state of the nation.
Well, at that time. The communist state of California and Oregon did not exist at that time.
True.
But Vermont at that time was the communist state of the nation, even though communists didn't exist. Well, I guess they did. I don't know. I don't remember Bolsheviks and all that. Anyway, go ahead, Kim. I just want to make a point. Darkest time of the year, darkest state of the nation.
Gesundheit. Okay. In 1815, Joseph Smith's family moved to Wayne County, New York. A state law had already been established there on February 7, 1788, against certain types of marriage.
Kim.
It was revised and clarified in 1813, 2 years before Joseph's family arrived there.
Wayne Manor. Batman.
What?
Wayne County.
Oh.
Wayne Manor.
That has nothing to do with what I just said.
He's Batman. Love you.
I know you do.
Our friend David is probably cracking up right now.
Oh, hi, David. Okay, I'll keep reading. It reads chapter, 24. I don't get all this, okay, so it's XXIV, which is 24, okay?
Yes, 24.
It reads chapter 24, an act to restrain all persons from marrying until their former wives and former husbands be dead. Passed 7th of February, 1788, be enacted by the people of the state of New York, represented in Senate and Assembly, and it is hereby enacted by the authority of the same, that if any person or persons being married or who hereafter shall marry, do at any time marry any other person or persons, the former husband or wife being alive, then every such offense shall be felony. End quote. Laws of the state of New York, revised and passed at 36 sessions of the legislature, 1813, pages 113 through 114. And I have to say something about
Communists?
No. This reminds me of that stupid show with that rabbit where they're like, it's a killer, what was it? Hair. And they were like taking out the royal hand grenade.
Oh, yeah, Monty Python.
Okay, yeah, Monty Python.
I love Monty Python.
Where they're like,
it's a demon.
No, and no more shalt thou count other than...
No, it's, thou shalt count to 3. If thou hast gotten to 2, thou shalt count 1 more to 3. If thou hast counted to 4, thou art right. Or something.
But they're over and over and over the same thing, and I'm like, that law there is written the same way.
Well, we were trying to...
If any person or persons being married or who hereafter shall marry do at the time marry any persons or persons, the former husband or wife being alive, then every such offense, it's like...
shall be a felony.
Who writes these things? Why do we have to have people like that?
They're all from England.
They can't just be like
Monty
don't marry
Python.
other people, ever. Just don't.
Yeah.
That's what they should say.
But you can have sister friends.
Yeah. You're allowed to have girlfriends.
Concubines.
Stuff like that.
Do you know what the difference between a concubine and a wife is?
Yes.
In religious lore?
Yeah.
Concubine is a wife that is married to you civilly, and a wife is sold to you by the Holy Spirit. Yep.
Huh. That's interesting.
I just made that up. But I'm pretty sure it's right.
It sounds logical, though.
It is.
It does. It
I'm
sounds
pretty
like
sure it's
you
the
made
thing.
that stuff really good. That sounds kind of
I
believable.
think that God tries to tell me things, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. But I haven't gotten confirmation of the Spirit yet, because I don't care. I mean, I think it's interesting. I don't care. Anyway, go ahead.
Continuing on, Joseph Smith arrived in... Yes, we are. Mm-hmm. Joseph Smith arrived in Kirkland, Ohio in early 1831. Here, he was met by another state law on the marriage issue, passed just 7 years previously. It stated, Section 7, that if any married person having a husband or a wife living, oh, here we go again, shall marry any other person, every person, no, that if any married person having a husband or a wife living shall marry another person, every person so offending shall be deemed guilty of a high misdemeanor, and upon conviction thereof shall be imprisoned in the penitentiary and kept at hard labor. What?
Let me read it. Where am I?
Not exceeding 7 nor less than 3 years.
Stop! You're ruining my fun. And kept at hard labor, not exceeding 7 nor less than 3 years. Thus saith the legislature.
No, that's first sessions of the 22nd General Assembly of the State of Ohio, begun and held in the town of Columbus, December 1st, 1823, Volume 22, an Act for the Punishment of Crime, Section 7, Bigamy.
You bigamist.
That was a lot. And do you see why we do no scripture study together? Because when it happens, it becomes a little bit crazy.
In the middle of July, 1830. Oh, Kim, next time there's a legislature thing, let me read it.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
But let me read the rest. In the middle of July 1831, Joseph Smith and a few of his companions went to Jackson County, Missouri, where the following statute was already in force. Section 76.
Be it further enacted that if any person or persons within the state being married or who shall hereafter marry, do at any time marry any person or persons, the former husband or wife being alive, upon conviction thereof, he or they shall be whipped, not exceeding 39 stripes.
Oh my God.
If thou getst to 38, thou shalt go one more. If thou shalt
It does not say that.
exceed 39 and go to 40, thou art outright.
No, it says not exceeding 39 stripes. Be fined in
Be fined in not less than $100, nor more than $500, and imprisoned not less than 6 or more than 12 months, and thereafter be rendered infamous, be incapable of giving testimony or holding any office, civil or military, within the state.
That's laws of the state of Missouri, revised and digested and also animated by my husband by authority of the General Assembly, 1825, pages 305 and 306.
I am the authority.
You're something. When the saints were driven from Missouri to Illinois, they were at first welcomed and treated fairly by the local citizens. However, they found an anti-polygamy law in that state as well. Oh, good grief.
Oh, boy. Section 121. Bigamy consisting in having the 2 wives or 2 husbands at one and the same time, knowing that the former husband or wife is still alive. If any person or persons within the state being married or who shall hereafter marry, do at any time marry any persons or person within the state being married or who shall hereafter marry, do at any time marry any person or persons, the former husband or wife being alive, the person so offending shall, on conviction thereof, be punished by a fine not exceeding $100. $1,000 and imprisoned in a penitentiary not exceeding 2 years.
That comes from the Revised Laws of Illinois, 1833, pages 198 through 199.
Communists.
And animated by my husband. Thus, the 5 states where Joseph Smith resided all had laws against plural marriage. These state laws were made after the creation and ratification of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, in conflict with guaranteed rights and also in opposition to the marriage practices of the ancient prophets and patriarchs of God. Joseph Smith was well aware of the laws of the land and could see that they were in conflict with the laws of God. His teachings and conduct proved which laws he considered to be the most important.
Oh boy. So the next chapter is chapter 15, the Mormons, the restoration of plural marriage. Kim's going to read that without me saying a whole lot. I am going to check the chat room in the studio. The guest call-in number is 917-889-8827. And we don't have any callers now, but the lines are open. And if we don't have anybody after the preview of the next chapter, then we will end the program, and I will go to work.
Okay. In the foregoing chapters of this book, we have studied the history and attitudes of many different people and nations toward the principle of plural marriage. Kings and paupers, prophets and priests, rich and poor, have recognized the beneficent attributes of polygamy. From the Congo to the most industrialized nations and from every color, religion, and nationality have come favorable statements regarding this marriage lifestyle. Now, we come to the restoration of plural marriage as part of the gospel of Jesus Christ revealed to the prophet Joseph Smith. We will read what the Lord himself had to say about plural marriage in this dispensation and what the response of the saints has been towards these revelations. The Lord has emphasized the important connection between plural marriage and the laws of the holy priesthood. Apparently, the reasons why plural marriage was introduced in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are still a mystery to most Mormons. However, Elder Marky Peterson gave one good reason. Why was plural marriage practiced by the Latter-day Saints? Only about 4% of them ever entered into this form of matrimony, but why did even they? Dun, dun, dun.
And we'll get back to that on Monday. All right, we don't have anybody in the chat room, and as usual, King Friday, there's nobody in the studio. So I guess we're done for today. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before we end the program?
Nope.
Okay. All right, then we'll end the program. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this program, and we'll be back on Monday at 8 p.m. Unless something happens, but hopefully we'll be back on. So, all right, well, I guess we're going to end the program. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Take care. God bless, and goodbye. Go ahead and mute yourself, Kim.
new poll shows that 63% of Americans